Selene Gallio is a centuries-old mutant psychic vampire and a major antagonist in Marvel Comics. Also known as the Black Queen, she is a longtime member of the Hellfire Club and as such has often tormented the X-Men and their allies. She also fought Captain America and the Daughters of Liberty. She's immortal, she possesses great magical powers, she can just manipulate shadows and darkness. She can drain the life force from any living being that comes into contact with her skin. She's pretty cool. After a failed attempt to sacrifice the population of ancient Rome to make herself a god, she founded Nova Roma, an isolated colony modeled after ancient Rome that survived into modern times in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. She maintains her immortality with her mutant power because she likes to absorb the essence or life force of others. She can also absorb memories and take control of people this way. So by drawing on the power she's absorbed, she can grant herself superhuman abilities, enhanced strength, speed, whatever she needs. Oh, did I mention she's a telepath with very, very good telekinetic abilities? Combine all of this, and you've also got her lovely extended lifespan. She's become one of the most skilled magic users in the world, and I think at one point she was even considered a potential candidate to replace Doctor Strange as Sorcerer Supreme. So that's how you get a great antagonist in the New Mutant series, and also the whole Necrosha story arc. Soft Serve's sole mutant ability is to defecate ice cream, controlling the flavor she creates and how much she serves, making her a mutant with pretty much zero inherent fighting capabilities. She was first introduced in a background moment in Way of X, issue number 2, and artist Bob Quinn later elaborated on her powers with a detailed sketch on Twitter. So originally he's like, yeah, she's got different plumbing from baseline humans, but later amended that her body is a portal to the ice cream dimension, and the phrase defecating is more about the unfortunate placement of the portal's exit than her actual biological process. Soft Serve, by the way, is not the only mutant with ice cream related powers. You've also got to consider Ice Cream, who can turn himself into any flavor of ice cream. Yeah, ice cream. Alright. According to Bob Quinn, there's no relation between the two, but Soft Serve is a big fan of ice cream. Just don't confuse the two, everybody, because it's easy to do. Sketch has the mutant ability to reshape reality by altering it upon her sketch pad. She can only affect non-organic matter with this power, fashioning metallic tendrils, metallic sheaths, and obviously she needs to be able to see an object in order to affect it. Thankfully for us, she carries around bags full of sketch pads and pencils at all times. In terms of what history we know about her, I think she was held prisoner in Russia by mutant traders until being saved by the X-Men. Oh, and before his abrupt departure from writing Uncanny X-Men, Chris Claremont did intend for Sketch to join the X-Men, but now I got nothing for her. Having the physical attributes of a fish, Sammy Perret, or Squid Boy, was the perfect target for bullies. Now intent on stopping the harassment, Sammy plotted to kill his tormentors, but thankfully a meeting with Professor X saved Sammy from the potentially deadly showdown, and he was like, yeah, I'll enroll at the Xavier Institute instead. Well, en route to the Institute with Professor Xavier, he was like, hey, I can't contact anybody. So they took a detour over to Ireland to help with a mission, and upon investigating, we found ourselves assisting Juggernaut. And then Juggernaut and Sammy became good friends after Sammy saved Juggernaut's life. Kane became a surrogate father to Sammy, but then when Sammy's mother found out about his relationship with Kane, she called Alpha Flight to bring Sammy back home to her. And there, Sammy was going through some harm. Really not great. But then Juggernaut was like, hey, I'm gonna come visit. And well, Juggernaut took care of the attacker and was subsequently arrested by Alpha Flight, the big superheroes in Canada. Oh, did I mention Sammy's from Vancouver? After that, Sammy's mother left the bad guy, Sammy returned to the Institute, and good time. Later on, Juggernaut infiltrated Brotherhood of Evil, working as a double agent, but Sammy stumbled upon that group meeting and he's like, oh my gosh, Juggernaut's betraying the X-Men. So he lashed out at him, causing the group's leader, Black Tom Cassidy, to sadly kill the young mutant, pulping him. Eventually, Sammy became a candidate for resurrection by the Five, and when Kane heard that Sammy's resurrection was coming on the queue, he made it a point to be there to welcome him and to apologize for how things kinda went previously. Jazz, the guy with the power to have blue skin. Not even the power to turn off the blue, just blue skin. Real name John Xander. His dream was to be a rapper, but he wasn't really good. And while in Mutant Town, he was a runner for one of the crime lords of the area, selling toad juice, a substance made from the secretions of Toad Boy. And after M-Day, he was one of the few mutants to retain his mutant powers and appearance, but then was forcibly relocated to the mutant camp, where he was killed by fellow mutant and tent mate Johnny D, thanks to a miniature voodoo doll that Johnny made from a DNA sample. So remember Spat and Grovel, the acquaintances of Gambits who appeared in a couple of issues of Uncanny around the trial times? They had the action figures that were part of the Marvel's Most Wanted. Well, if you remember them, good on you. Do you remember that third person with them? The one that we only had for a couple of panels? His name was Landscape. He was a mutant bounty hunter with the power to create holographic environments, and that's all we really know about him. Equus, also known as Danny, was a metamorph who was able to transform his body into an equine state with horse-like speed that resembled a winged centaur. So while in the state he had flight, he had horse-like speed, really great. History on Danny: his father worked as a government scientist before he had an accident in the lab, and then retired to raise horses in Texas. So Danny was born a mutant, grew up tending to horses, and then he felt that kinship. So when he was in his mutant form, he would run with the horses. He would take the horses to be shown at state fairs, one such being the Texas State Fair, and that's where he was detected by both Magneto and Professor Xavier's mutant locating hardware. So Magneto got there first and was like, "I dub you Equus, the latest soldier in my crusade." And upon the arrival of the X-Men, Magneto was like, "Hey Danny, they're the bad guys, they're here to kidnap you." So he took on his mutant form and fought alongside Magneto against them. Now when Magneto carelessly injured Danny's horses, Danny turned against him and with the aid of the X-Men, defeated him. Danny elected to stay in Texas after this, but the X-Men did leave him a little card for the Xavier Institute, so the door's not completely closed. As part of Gene Nation, a group of Morlock whom Storm encountered and relocated to Africa, Boost was a mutant who kind of functioned like a living battery cell. He could augment other mutants' powers by a process called body jumping, where he would merge with them and boost their powers. So when humanity's last stand attacked the former Gene Nationals at their new home, Storm, the X-Men, the Brotherhood all arrived to offer the mutants protection against their enemies. Humanity's last stand was eventually defeated, and Boost, along with somebody else, they were like, "Yeah, let's get out of here." They helped the Brotherhood escape in return for being, well, dropped off at an unrevealed place of their choosing. Sadly, Boost was affected by M-Day, lost his mutant powers, but was somehow repowered and then became a citizen of Krakoa, and was suggested as a potential replacement for Cortez in Sword, but other than that, don't have a lot. Mother Inferior was a member of the Morlocks, the outcasts, the community of mutants who lived in the tunnels beneath New York City, and her power, kinda handy in this situation, she had the ability to communicate with and control rats and other vermin types of creatures. Handy when you live in the tunnels underneath a rat-infested city, scary if you're me. Well, most folks had been killed in the mutant mass extinction event. A couple of folks escaped, a few with the help of X-Men and whatnot, and Mother Inferior and her family. Part of that, they came across Anna in the old Poseidon. They helped take care of Pester's offspring until one day, Spider-Man's like, "Hey, I'm here to investigate some stuff." And Spider-Man thought the Morlocks were threatening Anna's descendant, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna rescue this little thing." But then he found out that it belonged to the Morlocks, and naturally Mother Inferior fought him. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong folks, I think she's now dead because Firebrand had that whole building collapse thing. TBD. So you might think you're familiar with Thumbelina, but we're not here to talk about the Don Bluth adaptation today. This mutant first made her appearance with the now defunct team known as the Mutant Liberation Front, the MLF. And although very loyal to her teammates and part of the team since the get-go, she was often just a source of humor to them. I don't think she took part in a lot of active missions unless she was really needed, because sadly her size and slow movement was usually more of a hindrance than helpful. Like, don't get me wrong, when it came to espionage missions, she was really great. Her ability to shrink down to like a quarter of an inch allowed her to get into places and access things that most of us can't. So she was able to save the team, she was good in a crunch. She would later help out the X-Force in a battle along with a short-lived revamp of the MLF, and she teamed up to help destroy some menaces, but then after that she would just like poof off and we didn't really know where she'd go. Currently, I think her whereabouts are unknown, but we do know that she does still have her mutant powers after all the M-Day stuff, so maybe we'll see her again. Well, that's all folks. I've been Alexa. See ya!